What's going on, guys? This really pissed me off. And I think you're going to feel a lot the same way once you hear this. But then I was like, yeah, you know what? This is just typical female shaming tactics. They don't even realize they're doing it half the time. They don't realize that they're like almost pre-programmed. Almost pre-programmed to the point where it's just automatic. Right? And some women are conscious of it, some women aren't. Some women don't shame people, but unfortunately too many of them do. And this is a textbook example. So that guy Robert Mason that I did my video on the other day, you know, the dude who had a son and then had another two sons who were twins with his ex-wife, and the eldest son was 21 before he discovered that he wasn't the father because he found out that he had cystic fibrosis and was infertile, and then he did a DNA test and the kids weren't his, and she got a £4 million divorce settlement plus alimony plus child support, and then the mother put the guilt trip on the kids, so now the kids are telling him that they're not going to talk to him unless he doesn't sue their mother. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And he got £250,000 back out of $4 million, and that $4 million doesn't include the alimony and child support. This guy's life has been ripped from him. 21 years of deceit. Like, I get it. If she had a kid with someone else, and she was honest about it, it's like, well, shit, it is what it is, and that's still bullshit. It's still shit, still fucked. But, at least the guy has got the, can say, well, am I going to stick around and raise these kids from birth that aren't mine? Or am I going to be a cock for the rest of my life, at the hands of this particular individual? So, Sarah Vine has decided to do a little hit piece on Mr. Richard Mason. You know, the Richard Mason that had his absolute heart ripped out through his chest by finding out that his three sons that he raised for like almost 21 years were not actually his, were some Jewish banker dudes. Oy vey. Shlomo, I know you're out there. Here is the title of this article. Sarah Vine, it's not genes that make a man a true father to his sons. Just ask my husband, Michael Gove, about the loving dad who adopted him. What makes a father? Is it the duplication of the genes? Yeah, it is. The resemblance in the eyes? Yeah, that's also a part of it. The shared hair color? That'd be part of it, yep. The very obviously inherited sticky out ears? Yeah, that's all part of what happens when you're someone's kid and someone's your dad. Tend to have some similarities. Or is it time spent together, the endless stories at bedtime, the joint adventures, the memories, good and bad, of moments shared? Richard Mason, the 55-year-old millionaire co-founder of internet price comparison site moneysupermarket.com, believes in the former. So much so that, having discovered by accident that his three sons are not biologically his, he seems hell-bent on revenge. Yeah, against the woman who fucking made him believe that they were his? Understandably. Are you serious? What the fuck is wrong with you, Sarah, you spastic? As well as suing his former wife for paternity fraud and securing a $250,000 payout. Yeah, in lieu of the $4 million fucking pounds he paid her. He has also decided to tell the entire world about her deceit and expose his children to the gaze of the nation. Yeah, the key words here, her deceit. She fucked it, not him. In an emotional interview in the Mail on yesterday, he discovered how he made the discovery after he was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis 2 years ago. Because men with cystic fibrosis cannot conceive without the aid of IVF, his consultant was adamant Mason's three boys, a 23-year-old and 19-year-old twins, could not possibly be his. And a DNA test also confirmed it. And that's exactly right, JT. The woman you marry is not the woman who divorces you. Don't get married. 100%, my brother. Totally agree with you. In an in an instant, I discovered I didn't really have any children, he says. You can understand someone would go through that thought process. And as I mentioned the other day, women have no concept of what it's like to be on the receiving end of paternity fraud. Because they know the kid's theirs. It came out of them. Like, you can't mistake that shit. You can't hide that. You can't fake it. So they have no idea what it's like to be on the receiving end of paternity fraud or being lied to about your own children and then finding out the truth. The biological father is a man, as yet unknown, but Mason has offered a £5,000 reward for information leading to the discovery of his identity, with whom Mason's ex-wife Kate had an on-off 4-year affair during their, by Mason's own admission, unhappy 20-year married. So he not only raised these kids to the age of 21, he was unhappily married to her for 20 years of that. 20 years of a 20-year marriage, unhappy. That's shit. Now, there can be no doubt that Kate's behavior constitutes a terrible betrayal, almost biblical in scale. Oh, you think, Sarah? The whole sorry saga is made even sadder by Mason's own, possibly life-limiting illness and the health of his second wife, Emma, 46, who was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. And here the shaming comes. She's set the scene. She's put the picture in your head. But here's the thing. Does all that really negate his role as a father? And however awful the circumstances, however heartless the ex-wife's actions, however painful the realization of her infidelity, however humiliating and traumatic the discovery, can any of it justify this howl of rage? Yeah, it can actually, Sarah. It really fucking can. And you would never know what it feels like because you've never had to go through it. So try walking a mile in a man's shoes before you judge him. How can any of it justify this howl of rage? This visiting the sins of the mother on the children? Yeah, because the children deserve to know who their father is. And Richard has even said that he only wants to find the father so the kids can know who their real dad is. That's all it is. Right? Because that, in effect, is what Mason has done. Those words, I didn't really have any children, say it all. Yeah, well, if it says it all, Sarah, then how come this guy is devastated, feels he's gut-wrenchingly devastated, right? Like, why is he still fighting to talk to his sons? If he, what is it, by your words, in telling the world that he no longer feels he is the father, he is depriving those children of the only one they've ever known. No, he's actually not. He's just saying how he's feeling. Because, you feminists want us to say what we feel. Well, guess what? This is how we fucking feel. When you do this to us. If you do this to us. All right, so don't turn around with that, oh, this is, you need to man up bullshit. Go fuck yourself, Sarah. Out of my face. By the way, thank you for that generous donation from Hammerhand. He says, have a pint on me, brother. Great talk with Bettina. Appreciate you. Shane with $5 and Quincy with $2 says, this is ridiculous. She owes him and the kids. That's exactly right. 100%. Shane says, oh, for fuck's sake, it's my first super chat and I didn't send my message. Hey, Sid. Hey, Shane, how you doing, man? I appreciate you. Thank you. Because in effect, that's what Mason has done. Those words, I didn't really have any children, say it all. In fact, he's telling the world that he no longer feels he is their father. He's depriving those children of the only thing they've ever known. And for what? What good will any of this do, save to undermine the emotions of 3 young men already, one imagines, deeply traumatized by their parents' divorce and the news that their father has a debilitating illness. So I noticed, Sarah, that you skipped over, right? You said, deeply traumatized by their parents' divorce, deeply traumatized by the news their father has a debilitating illness. What about being deeply traumatized by the fact their mother fucking lied to them for 21 years about who their real father was? And then put their own father that raised them through this. How about that, Sarah? Oh, that's right. That doesn't matter because women never do anything wrong, do they? Men do shitty things, women do shitty things. Right? Life sucks sometimes. But why do we have to ignore it and sweep it under the rug and pretend like that's not part of the equation when shit like this goes down, huh? Sarah, you call yourself a journalist. I don't know how so much shit came out of your mouth, fell on the keyboard, and spat out some words that almost made sense. Because that's basically what this is from you. Absolute load of shit. You know, and this is typical of the mainstream media. This is typical of this leftist agenda. It's typical of these feminists. Right? They never want to acknowledge when a man's going through pain. Right? Never want to acknowledge it. And then when they do acknowledge it, they're just like, oh, but it's not that painful. In fact, have you guys ever heard of Michelle Bridges? She was like a famous, she was a celebrity fitness trainer on TV. And she ended up, she was doing this show, I think it was Biggest Loser or some other show. It was some other show about getting people, I'm pretty sure it was Biggest Loser, where they get people fit and see who can lose the most amount of weight, right? And there was this guy called Commando on the show with her. And she actually ended up monkey branching from her husband onto Commando. And they've now had a kid together. And she had an article in the mainstream media today saying how nobody can understand the heartache that she's going through being away from her son for 3 fucking days. How about you, Michelle? How about you be an advocate for people who have to be away for their children for a long period of time? Huh? How about you be an advocate for those people? How about you be an advocate for those guys who don't get to see their kids for 3 months while they wait for their court date to fight a false allegation that's been put in place by the mother because A, the feminist lawyer told them to, B, they want to get back at the father, C, there's no accountability, and D, they want to establish the status quo. So when they go to family court, the judge goes, oh, well, you know, we don't want to unsettle the status quo, and the kids have been with their mother by themselves for 3 months now, so we don't want to unsettle that. The kids were only with the mother for 3 months because you lied and got the father kicked out of the house to get your own way. Right? And if that's not an argument to give the kids right back to the father and have the mother put in her place, I don't know what the fuck is. Christopher Piper says, greeting from liberal California. Thanks for being a voice for men all over the world. Too many of us have been silent for too long. That's right, brother. Too many of us have been silent for too long. We got Turin here, been without his father for 7 years. Been without his kids for 7 years. Right, same shit. It's the same story all over again. And they're doing this family law review in Australia at the moment. Right? And all the feminists have been put in charge of the fucking hen house. Right? So there's all these references to family violence. Not one to shared parenting. Not one to the importance of children needing their father. Which is scientifically verifiable through data showing the negative outcomes. The negative average outcomes significantly dropping. Right? In a bad way for kids that don't have their father around. Man, and you know what? And if you guys have heard of Gary Awesome, some of you would have, some of you might not have. Chris Cantu in the box. I appreciate you, Chris Cantu. I'm going to be doing a live stream with Chris Cantu soon talking about masculinity. Because we know what's up with that. And yeah, so Gary Awesome, it's spelled Gary space ORSUM. So 1 R in Gary, and Awesome spelt phonetically ORSUM. He did a fantastic video yesterday called The Good Parent. And I highly recommend all of you go and watch it. Highly recommend all of you go and watch it. It basically talks about Gary Awesome's experience when he was separated from his kids in the beginning, when he separated from his ex-wife or ex-partner, whatever the case was. And he was talking about, you know, the difference between a good parent and a responsible parent. Right? And he showed this video of this one mother who could not, for the life of her, admit that she was making her young son obese by overfeeding him. Right? Could not admit at all. She was making the one son, like it was just, she was day by day, he was coming closer and closer to an early grave. She was wheeling him in a wheelchair from school back to the house, like 500 meters, in case he got puffed out. And then when the doctor called her on it, she's like, no. She could not admit that she was screwing up her kid. She thought she was the best mother on the face of the earth. And so many mothers do. And yeah, there's some shitty single dads too. There's some shitty dads in dual parent situations. There's some shitty mums in dual parent situations. There's some shitty pairs of parents in these dual parent situations. There's some amazing couples of parents in a dual parent situation. Like there's all these different combos. It's not just like, oh, well, you know, mothers are amazing when they're single and fathers are abusive in marriages. Like, fuck that. Hammerhand's only seen his daughter once since January 18. Right? And everyone's like, oh yeah, but these false allegations, you know, it barely ever happened. Bullshit. They never happen. Right? I got at least 3 men in the box right now, and I only have 85 people live at the moment. At least 3 people in the box right now. In the exact same boat, if not a hell of a lot more. So, right? So 3 into 90, what's that? You know what I mean? We're talking like close to 5%. And that's of the people that have commented so far and told me. Sorry guys, my phone got awful hot and shut down, but I'm back. It's all good. I'm here with you. What was I saying before this stream got shut down? I don't even know. Quincy Nelson just donated $4.99 and says, greetings from the US. Why would women do this? $4 million, 4 million pounds actually. It's more than dollars. It's about over 5 million US dollars. 4 million pounds in a destroyed family, not to mention an article. She's crazy and did the whole family wrong. That's exactly right. And this is my point. This is my exact point. All right? It's just so wrong. Seriously, so wrong. But yeah, since my phone just restarted, can anyone remember me what my last point was? Because if you can't, then I'm gonna round it up. Here we go. Ashley says he got one cousin. He hasn't seen his son in 4 years. He hasn't seen his son in 4 years. I am 44 and have one son, but this dad's going through this left, right, and center. Left, right, and center. I know a friend personally who was recently had false allegations against him. I've seen the whole entire set of court documents. Right? I've seen her getting caught out lying. Right? I've seen all of it. Like she was gonna get thrown in jail. But of course, they let her off with a plea deal, as they do with every woman who gets caught out lying. It's like, well, look, we caught you lying, but we don't really want to throw you in jail because you have a vagina. And that would just mean that some feminists would get really upset because the stats would go up and prove that, women actually do the wrong thing too sometimes. Right? But they don't want to see that. They don't want to see that. Right? Disgusting. Anyway, I'm gonna stop ranting. There we go. Churian's right. Not only has Churian not seen his kid, but says my friend lost his house and kids because of a false allegation. That's my point. I actually had to make his son's mother let him see his son by extorting the child support. So he had to pay extra. Right? This is what's going on. Anyway, guys. And Shane says, I was going to say my mate Darren's son has cancer, lives with his mum and is overweight. She keeps feeding him, obviously, because she feels bad. The last thing you want to be doing to someone with cancer is overfeeding him, and especially overfeeding him bad foods. Fuck. MGTOW John says 14 years of family court trying to see my son. Be bullshit allegations all the time, all dismissed, but importantly, you're never cleared. The intent is that mud sticks eventually. I got like 5 people in the box now, right? And I never badmouth children's biological dads didn't have to. Not having anything to do with your children speaks for itself. Always wanted them to be involved, but that was their choice. Yeah, Asia Argento got away with sleeping with a minor because the guy went silent. Of course he did. Of course he did. And Munchausen syndrome by proxy is a female-only condition. That's something I've noticed, Michael Guevara. A bit of a trend. Bit of a trend. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'm gonna go get some rest. I was actually watching a really good video by Yogi Obes, if you guys haven't seen him. He's got some cool content. YOGI space OABS, right? And Yogi Obes was talking about how he went from PUA to MGTOW, and he was talking about, and I really want you guys to stay and hear this out. And he was talking about how it's so important to get the right amount of rest, and I haven't been doing that. And I kind of knew that I hadn't been doing it. Like, oh, okay. Not kind of knew. I totally knew I hadn't been doing it, but I'm just like pushing through. But I'm going to take Yogi's advice tonight. Get a good night's sleep. And I'm going to stay hydrated. And Super and Third Master, you were pleased to know that I am not a flat earther. So you can stay sub to me, brother. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you so much to everyone for all the super chats in the stream. I really appreciate it. It does help me a lot. Thank you so much. And Super and Third Master, while MGTOW 101 is a flat earther, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for MGTOW 101. He was actually the one that helped me discover MGTOW. And, you know, I think a lot of people who are flat earthers because they've been lied to about so much that they question everything that's told to them by the establishment. So, you know, while I personally don't believe that the earth is flat, because, you know, I've flown and I've seen all, like, there's enough evidence out there for me to believe reasonably, from my own eyes and from other things that I've seen, that, you know, I'm pretty happy that the earth's round. But yeah, I got a lot of love for MGTOW 101. I might not agree with every single point that he has, but he's been he was the one who got me onto MGTOW. So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have gone looking. I wouldn't have found Chris Cantu. I wouldn't have found Big John. I would not have found all these other MGTOWs that actually go out there and put their faces to their name like I do. So yeah, anyway, guys, I'm out of here. I'm gonna get a good night's sleep, thanks to Yogi Obes. If any of you know Yogi, tell him I said thank you and appreciate him, and I'll catch you tomorrow.